Hi, my name is Anna Balkina. I'm a research fellow at Free University of Berlin, and I would like to present my research in progress paper titled Do Hijacked Journals Attract Dishonest Authors? So my research is devoted to hijacked journals. Hijacked journals represent a type of cybercrime. They mimic legitimate journals, they copy their metadata like ISSN and title to cheat potential authors. So they create a clone website to attract potential authors to collect fees because hijacked journals exploit the open access model of publishing, and nowadays cybercrime is $1 million business. On this slide you can see some print screens of the websites of clone journals. This is clone Novy Mir, which is the clone of famous Soviet and Russian journal, and you can pay attention to its DOI number, which is fake because it starts with 16 and it should start with 10. And this is a clone of last year Journal of Talent Development and Excellence. And this journal also penetrated in Scopus and indexed nearly 500 papers there. Hijacked journals differ from predatory journals. Hijacked journals are illegitimate publishers, though predatory journals can be considered to be legitimate journals from the point of view that they are officially registered and they have their own ISSN and title. Both hijacked journals and predatory journals, they violate publication ethics, but only hijacked journals violate intellectual property rights of other journals, and in many jurisdictions, journal hijacking can be considered a fraud or criminal offense. The paper submitted to hijacked journal is not considered to be published, but anyway, such papers are cited by respectable journals. In contrast, papers published in predatory journals are officially published, so they can be officially indexed in international citation databases and officially cited. And also it is important to note that both hijacked and predatory journals, they inflate their impact factor, they both can have fake editor boards and so on. So if in the case of predatory journals, the reasons why authors submit their papers to predatory journals is rather studied in the literature, it is not so in the case of hijacked journals. Nowadays, there is a common belief that the potential clients of hijacked journals are naive authors who are not able to distinguish between honest and fraudulent journals. However, is this true? In other words, are naive authors the only group of authors who submit their articles to hijacked journals? This question has not yet been investigated in the literature. There is an alternative hypothesis that some authors choose to exploit hijacked journals and submit their articles in order to increase their publication records. Furthermore, there is evidence of academic misconduct in hijacked journals, for example, of plagiarism cases or circulation of texts between predatory journals and hijacked journals. So my hypothesis is that dishonest authors constitute another group of clients who submit their articles to hijacked journals. Dishonest authors are attracted by fraudulent hijacked journals that author a fast publication process with no peer review. And this is the case of many countries which apply publication-based performance indicators. My research strategy. So to test this hypothesis, the text of papers published in hijacked journals were checked for text similarities. Plagiarism is considered to be one of the most serious forms of academic misconduct, and authors who violate academic ethics can be considered dishonest. And plagiarism detection in articles submitted to hijacked journals can shed light on the behavior of the authors who submit to such journals. So why is this study important? Because there is a rising concern about the proliferation of hijacked journals and fraudulent publishers. There are more than 200 hijacked journals which are registered, but there are also a lot of cases of hijacked journals which are not documented, so it's not possible to estimate the real number of hijacked journals, but there is evidence of rising number of journal hijacking nowadays. Recent evidence also suggests that cybercriminals compromise information in international citation databases. They change the homepage link, or they are able to penetrate in international. They penetrate in international citation databases and index their fake content in these databases, especially in Scopus. Also, a considerable amount of literature has developed around the topic of academic misconduct and plagiarism in scientific papers. However, the studies do not take into account possible violations of academic ethics in hijacked journals. Research also has shown that the high level of competition in academia, as well as the publish or perish strategy, can increase the number of publications in predatory journals. Publishing in hijacked journals can be another possible way for academics to improve their publication records and cheat their universities. So my next step is to select hijacked journals. The hijacked journals were selected from several sources. First of all, I used the lists of hijacked journals, but the problem with hijacked journals is that when demand expires, all the content is lost. So I choose only available websites. The next source is the list of hijacked journals found in several studies, and also from my study, where I detected hijacked journals by their archives. And the third source was Simago website. So Simago represents the profiles of the journals where users can leave the comments about the journals, and sometimes they leave the comment that this or that journal is hijacked, and so I used it as a source of information about hijacked journals. I've made a list of 85 cloned websites that were available as of March 2021. My next step was to select articles. So the selection of articles to check for plagiarism is challenging. First of all, because there is evidence that archives of hijacked journals are replenished by texts from hijacked and predatory journals. It happens because when a new website is created, so this hijacked journal has to show that it has a lot of issues. And in many cases, hijacked journals or use fictitious paywall, or they replenish their archives with some papers taken from other hijacked journals or predatory journals. In this case, my idea is not to select these type of papers, but select papers which were submitted by authors. And in this case, I decided to select 3 last issues, and this is kind of a guarantee that I select only those issues where just some real authors submitted the papers. I selected each 10th paper, and the first paper is randomly selected. If number of papers less than 10, so I should choose each 5th paper, and in case of Journal of Talent Development and Excellence, each 20th paper was downloaded due to the extreme number of papers in last issues. I used Urkund, or original, to detect plagiarism. The paper by Foltinek and his co-authors confirmed the efficiency of Urkund in detecting text similarities. After Urkund prepared a report, I used manual check to exclude some common phrases or some description of statistical model and so on. And so at the end, the percent of non-original text was calculated. As of March 2021, I have analyzed a sample of 500 papers, and this is approximately 60% of all papers. So my results that only 28% of the papers don't contain any trace of plagiarism. The current average level of non-original text is 21%, and this number will be adjusted at the end of the study. The next result is that the several types of plagiarism and other types of academic misconduct were found in the articles under investigation. First of all, it is blatant plagiarism. Approximately 80% of papers has text similarities at the level of 50% or more. The second type is plagiarism with rewriting, and Urkund detects well rewriting in the papers. The next type is plagiarism for papers with a different set of co-authors. It is the case when a paper had been published or with a certain set of co-authors, and several co-authors or one co-author used the text of this paper and republished it with alone or with other set of co-authors. Another type of academic misconduct is self-plagiarism, and also data fabrication. Data fabrication is the case when author or co-authors plagiarized the text and they updated the years, leaving all statistical data unchanged. And so this can be called as data fabrication. Now, the study in progress found that 1,150 authors contributed to these 500 papers, and authors mostly originate from developing countries or emerging economies, especially India. 71% of authors originate from India, but I have to underline that hijacked journals actually orient to the Indian market. Also, co-authors of most papers originated from the same country, and it means that international collaboration can be considered as an exception. So in this graph, you can see the distribution of affiliation countries of authors with India, Indonesia, Russia, Kazakhstan, and Iraq as top 5 countries. And so my conclusions. The study confirms the hypothesis that the authors are not as naive as it is commonly believed in the literature. The absence of strict requirements for publication and plagiarism checks allow authors to publish texts with a significant amount of plagiarism. Thus, these findings of the current study suggest that fraudulent journals attract dishonest authors. The hypothesis of the presence of honest authors who have been deceived by hijacked journals is not excluded. However, the share of articles without plagiarism is currently only 28%, and this figure will be adjusted after the end of the study. I have also to admit that there are some limitations of this study, because both self-plagiarism and the low level of other author plagiarism can be explained not only by the dishonesty of the authors, but also by a low level of awareness of academic ethics, principles, and citation rules by such authors. And this aspect warrants further investigation by interviews with the authors. So in my study, I would like to thank Valeria Morozhnikova for her assistance with ethical action, and I also acknowledge the support from Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich, where the study was initiated. If you have further questions, please mail me to abalkina@gmail.com. Thank you very much for your attention.